Hello, and welcome to the Anything Appalachia podcast, produced by Germain Media. In each episode, we wander up and down the hills and hollers of old Appalachia, talking about its unique history, culture, and even some of the important issues facing it today. Please welcome our hosts, Scott Ballard and Kelly Germain.
Hello, and welcome again to Germain Media, a little thing we call Anything Appalachia. It's where anything goes, and where we take a look at where we are at Germain Media, reflect on some of the places we've been, the people we've met, the things that we've seen and heard, and also take a look at where we're going with Germain Media. My name's Scott Ballard. I'm your host, and also with us off camera is our sound engineer, Whispering Tristan Ham, and with me, as always, my friend Kelly St. Germain, the guru of Germain Media. And so as we always begin, we talk about where are we now? What's going on right now at Germain Media?
Another busy week at Germain Media, Scott. We've been running all over the place, but primarily we've been spending a lot of time in Grayson County, just over the line.
Nice, just over the line. And one of my favorite places, and we talked about this in one of the earlier podcasts, and we don't reveal the locations of some of the photos, most of the photos, just for privacy purposes.
Correct.
But there is an old farmhouse in Grayson County, and there is an English walnut tree that we estimated to be 300 plus years old. And I'm a tree hugger. I'm unapologetically, I mean, not
and
that
you hugged that tree.
I did hug that
that
tree. I did. We bonded. And so, not that I don't enjoy a good, session of chainsaw therapy. I do. But that tree is it's remarkable.
It's massive is not the right word.
No. I mean, when you see a tree that's been around that long and again, seen the things it's seen, and it was planted there. That's not a forest tree.
Yeah, it was planted there, and I think it's ideal conditions. It's real wet right there, and it's grown unbelievable. How you measured it by hugging it all the way around it? You estimate
18 plus feet.
18 plus feet circumference around it. Wow. It was a monster.
So that's my Grayson County story.
Grayson County's awesome. We love it, and we there's a lot of incredible things up there to photograph, and we've been going hard.
All right, excellent. So this brings us to the Jumpingoff Place in our video podcast. And again, that's a place where we can jump into a topic and just take off and see where it goes. And today's our topic is jumping off to...
It's coal.
Coal. We're going to talk about coal.
Yep. Yeah. Issue that a lot of Appalachia is dealing with right now.
No question. I come from Eastern Kentucky. I come from Middlesboro, Kentucky specifically, and Bell County, Kentucky is roughly in the top 10 in terms of counties in the state of Kentucky in terms of production of coal. So we know a little bit about coal in Bell County, but it's been in decline since 1990. Yeah. That was the peak of production. In fact, it is probably less than a third of that right now. Wow. And so you've had an incredible reduction in the number of jobs available, and that was our industry. So
that put a lot of food on tables and bought a lot of Christmas presents over the years.
There's no question.
For a huge part of Appalachia. I mean, even going up into Pennsylvania. I mean, up around Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area. Right. That's kind of the northernmost tip of Appalachia.
Of the coal range.
And the coal range, exactly.
Well, it's interesting. We have some evidence that the Native Americans used coal. It was just an outcropping where these black diamonds, as they were called, they were used in fires. And if anybody's ever been to a home that has a coal-fired stove...
We heated with coal when I was a young kid.
It puts the heat off.
It does. It was amazing.
It really does. So it's an interesting kind of situation there. In terms of peak coal, we still have 200 years worth of coal in the ground.
What made coal take off as an industry? It's not. We don't know a whole lot about it here in Ashe County. The only coal that ever came into Ashe County was on the Virginia Creeper.
That's correct. And what really took off in terms of coal production was the Industrial Revolution, and then because these machines were mechanized, and granted, I would say that the westward expansion of our nation was fueled by coal.
Absolutely.
Because that's the train. Yeah. It was on every train going west, and so World War II was a huge peak of industrial production, and also I think probably a peak in terms of the people who were employed in the coal industry, because it was still a very rudimentary, very basic operation. It wasn't as heavily mechanized as it became through the decades.
What's the status of coal today?
it boggles my mind, which doesn't take much, admittedly.
Believe me, it doesn't.
And even with coffee, it doesn't take much. That with the best and brightest minds that we have, that we've not found a way to unlock the energy that is in coal.
Right.
I mean, it has tremendous amount of energy per pound, per ounce, or whatever, and that we haven't been able to find, clean coal, just a way to extract that energy. I don't know why we haven't been able to do that.
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
And we live and if it weren't for fracking, which is a whole nother issue,
that's an upcoming podcast.
It's another jumping off segment. But if it weren't for fracking, I mean, we would still be using quite a bit more coal. So you've got that going on. Of course, a lot of the fracking is taking place out west as well.
In the Dakotas.
But coal. Growing up, there was a certain mentality to it. In my home county, for example, there was. Most of the ownership of the land was by coal companies and timber companies. In fact, over 50% of the land in my county.
Wow, 50%?
Over 50% was owned by outside interests. Mm-hmm. And so I think that creates a little disconnection from the land, which is unfortunate because you want that buy-in. You want to feel proud of where you live and all those kinds of things.
But when the board of directors in New York City is making the decisions that affect you, it's not going to necessarily be in your best interest.
Well, that's why I didn't really do a lot of hunting when I was a kid, because there really wasn't game lands. Mm-hmm. There wasn't any place to hunt because you were basically trespassing if you were hunting anywhere. Wow. And there were great places to hunt. There were deer everywhere. Of course, now what they've done is they've reintroduced elk.
Right.
Into a lot of the reclaimed areas from former strip mines and coal mines. So that's kind of a neat thing.
It is. I think there's several people going up from Ashe and Allegheny counties and Wilkes are going up there, trying to go in elk hunting.
Right, and it's a lottery system right now that you've got to actually get a ticket to do it. But the other part about coal is, and I love these stickers that said, if you don't like coal, then turn your electricity off. Still, in the entire United States, coal powers 33 to 34% of all electricity in the United States.
Wow.
And so it's kind of like what we have, it's what we have to use. Let's find ways to do it efficiently, because I'm telling you, we've got 200 plus years worth of coal or more in the ground. Of course, the other part of it too is simply the extraction, and that's kind of hard on the environment. So there's a lot of things in play. But I think that we can put the best and brightest minds on it. I think we can figure this out. Yeah. It's what West Virginia and Kentucky, and especially Eastern Kentucky, rely on.
Absolutely.
In terms of jobs and employment. So, speaking of hot topics, the next
I think that was a pretty good one all by itself.
And we could definitely do this segment. We could continue it, but we're gonna shift gears into them's fighting words. And today we're going to have them's fighting words about farm to table, the farm to table movement.
Boy, that's
pro
really,
or con.
Farm to table. That's a huge thing right now. A lot of people talking about carbon footprints and
food miles,
and that's part of the shop local, buy local.
So what I've discovered, and I actually found this randomly because I really like the two Stevens. I can't remember their last names right now, but they have written a series of books called, or the Freakonomics. Freakonomics, just look it up. Freakonomics. So and one of the things they do is, I love that word. I love saying Freakonomics. But what they do is they take a look at things that we take for granted.
Right.
And
so commonly held beliefs, stereotypes.
Right. They'll either say, well, that is really true, or they'll dispel it as sort of cultural mythology, if you will. And so one of the things they tackled was food miles, the farm-to-table movement. And is it really decreasing, the more you buy locally, is it really decreasing the carbon footprint?
Absolutely. It's got to.
Wrong. And you know what?
Now, come on,
I
Scott.
know. It doesn't make any sense.
You're lying to me.
I know, and I want, like we were talking about earlier, it's like, I want my cherry tomatoes from Argentina in January. Thank you very much. But what it boils down to is that it's just simply the economy of scale. You have these large farms, and they can do everything so much more efficiently that it simply doesn't matter. Their actual carbon footprint per item of produce is smaller than what you're going to buy at the farmer's market. Now, here's the other thing. I love farmers markets. I love the freshness. I love the organic food. I love all those things. So the bottom line is, buy food from the farmer's market because you love it.
Absolutely.
Don't buy it because you're thinking that you're saving the environment, because you simply, the science doesn't bear it out.
How interesting. I would never in a million years thought that.
Well, the tractors, the different things that we've got to do locally to produce this, simply just don't, for the small amount of produce that we create.
For a half acre of tomatoes that we grow here, they're growing 20 acres, 100 acres, 1,000 acres.
For the same carbon footprint.
Wow.
So, but again, I love our farmers market. I feel like I'm pandering. I'm pandering here.
Well, we've got some great ones. Watauga has a fantastic one.
Yeah.
Wilkes County has a great one. My wife, who works in Wilkes, visits that one. We got a great one here in Ash every Saturday morning.
Do it because you love it.
That's right.
Do it because you. And the other part
And do it
about
because
that,
you want to help your neighbors.
I was going to say business to business.
Business to business.
Business to business. Keep
Yeah.
it local. Keep it local.
But understand why you're doing it.
Right. Because you want to support local folks, and you want to have the freshest food possible. So,
And if something happens, on a world scale, it's good to know that we can grow our own food.
well, the other thing that I'll throw out there in defense of farmers markets is that there is produce grown in other countries that do not have anywhere near the stringent rules on pesticides and other things. You simply don't know, and this is just the truth, you don't know what's been sprayed on your food.
And on your food, including your fish. That's one thing, we like to eat a lot of salmon, and my wife got looking into some of the salmon and where it was coming from.
Farm
We're eating,
raised.
and some of these farm-raised salmon that are coming
Really
from China,
polluted.
for instance.
Yeah.
It is scary what you could potentially be putting in your body when you read and see some of the accounts of these fish farms. So, we've started buying wild caught salmon, from up around Maine, I believe, or Newfoundland, that area. I mean, so knowing where your food comes from, you bring up a great point. The standards in other countries are not the standards that we have.
No, and we have plenty of folks, and I've got some friends who have greenhouses, and they produce food that is quote unquote out of season. So with greenhouses and that technology, we can certainly buy a lot more greens and produce out of season. The other thing too, and I'll add this really quickly.
Hurry up, because Tristan's giving us the
I
evil
know,
eye.
I know. Is that Appalachian State, nearby Appalachian State, is really working on a sustainability model. Mm-hmm. And that pertains to also their food services. And I believe their goal is to purchase 12 to 13%, and it may have been increased, but 12 to 13% of their entire food service, local or regionally.
Wow.
I think that's
What
massive.
a great goal.
Yeah, and I think they're getting there.
Yeah.
I really do. So they're partnering with those. Okay, so moving right along, because the slave driver won't let us wander too far off the beaten path, is to talk about how Patreon.com works. So Kelly, how does Patreon.com/Germain Media, how does that work?
Well, Scott, today's podcast is, as you just said, sponsored by our audience members at Patreon.com/Germain Media. Help us tell the stories you love to watch. Help us take the photographs you love to see. Help us save Appalachian history. It's easy to set up, and you can donate as little as $1 a month while earning great rewards. Please remember, your sponsorship, the sponsorship from our audience, makes all of this possible. Please consider becoming our patron, if I can speak right, at patreon.com/Germain Media. Too many P's there, Scott.
That's right, popping your P's. But thank you for considering that. We
thank
appreciate it very much so. So now we take that career risk once again. We're going to bring out
I forgot to bring out the Hulk glove.
Oh
for
my
fighting
goodness,
words.
that's right. We
Doggone
were our
it.
segment. Transition was so seamless.
We've got to go back and do it again.
Okay, one more time. We'll fix it in post.
All right, so we're moving right into our See and Say segment.
Right, say that five times fast. Here we go.
All right, so each week we, as Scott said, we pull out the old See and Say to randomly find a subject to talk about for a couple minutes based on Appalachian history and some of our experience that we've had in the last 5 years of filming. So here we go. We're going to pull the lever. Last week, we didn't get a sound when we did this. Let's try it again.
I think it was a dog. I'm not sure.
Actually, it was an owl, which was the same thing we got last week.
Hit
Let's
it
pull
again.
it again.
Hit it
We want to hit a different topic. So here we go. A mouse says, "Ee, ee."
A mouse in the house.
So a mouse. Let me see what a mouse corresponds to. As I set that down, bang the table. A mouse corresponds to music. So we need to talk about something in our past involving music, Appalachian mountain music.
Okay.
Tag, you're it.
Okay. Well, there's several easy parts there because we love music. Who doesn't love music? And so Appalachian music is a very broad topic, but I'll start with my family background was running a radio station in Middlesboro, Kentucky, and I worked Sundays as a kid.
What were your call letters?
WMIK.
WMIK.
Middlesboro in Kentucky. So one of the things on Sundays is we had a studio because back in the day, this station was started in 1948.
Wow.
Back in the day, there was a lot of live programming, and so we had an actual studio. Radio stations don't have studios anymore because nobody goes to a radio station to perform like they used to. So on Sunday, these different religious groups would buy an hour block of time, and they would bring in their music, their instruments, the people sing, and they would sing bluegrass gospel like you have never heard before.
I bet it made every hair stand up on your neck.
It was incredible, and I didn't even know I liked it. But it made, because of the emotion of it, and they were just, it was so raw. It was just so wonderful and so authentic that it made a huge impression on me. Whether I knew it at the time or not, it really did upon reflection. So that's kind of my, if you will, jumping off place for music is bluegrass gospel.
That's some great stuff. We've had multiple experiences in the last 3 or 4 years. We've done 2 shows on music. We've done one on the musical roots of Ashe County, which we really got to go back to the beginning of country music. And we found some connections to Ashe County to some of the very earliest material ever recorded came from Ashe County artists.
Shout out to Josh Beckworth.
Yes, Josh Beckworth was a tremendous resource in letting us know about some of these things. And then, so that's one thing, shooting those 2 shows. But another thing that really was cool was when we were visiting the Joins boys.
I knew you were going there.
The Joins boys up in Allegheny County, and we were there to talk to them about something else, and we ended up in their parlor getting our own private concert. It was incredible.
It's like the stories that they tell. They roll the carpets up, move the furniture to the wall, and just go for it. Isn't that where Tristan suffered some concrete poisoning?
Let's just say he took a header.
Sorry, I had to bring that up.
But moving right along.
But it was so impromptu.
Yeah.
And we are not. The other one was, I believe it was Lillian, wasn't it?
Wow. Yes.
Junaluska. And so we are not above asking a question.
We are
to
not
anyone.
shy.
We are not shy. So we're going to, if somebody references a song that they like to
sing. Oh, you better
believe.
believe.
The next question is going to be,
will you sing it for us?
And she did, and it was one of the goosebump moments.
It was pure magic, magic. Hearing, you said bluegrass gospel. I love old mountain hymns. I just, most of them aren't sung anymore. I much prefer them over modern music. I'll just be honest. And when Lillian started singing, wow, we had church.
Well, true. It very much right there, there, where 2 or 3 are gathered, right? That's what it says.
Yeah.
But also anything a cappella, the human voice is absolutely, without a question,
the most beautiful instrument there is.
Thank you for finishing my sentence. So
yes, honey.
An old married couple just doing a video podcast.
That's it.
But I think that music is also what transcends time. Yeah. It transcends the generations. Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about the JAM program, about teaching these kids in the schools.
Junior Appalachian musicians. Yeah.
Musicians, and teaching these kids
their heritage.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yep.
So
moving right on.
Was that a bell?
That was a bell.
Okay, so that means we go to the question segment, and that is, again, our engaged audience is full of inquiring minds.
Before we go there, I think we need to change Tristan's nickname. He's not Whispering Tristan. I think he's Bell Ringing Tristan.
Oh, I was thinking of something else.
So are you ready for a question?
Something to do with shrimp pate.
Smart Alec.
All right, here we go.
Are you ready for a question?
I'm ready
from
for
our
a
audience.
question.
Our question
Fire away.
this week comes from Tom in Watauga County.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom. Thank you for sending this in. His question was a really good one. I like this question. It was, what was the most dramatic interview you have ever conducted at Germain Media? We've conducted,
That's easy, isn't it?
We've conducted hundreds of them, but this is a softball.
I wanted to rename that question as, what was the interview where you walked out of the interview thinking to yourself, what just happened there? What just happened?
Yes.
And that one was
Uncle Bud.
God rest his soul.
Amen.
'Cause
From Avery County.
He was I think 6 months after that or so he passed.
It might have been 3 months.
It was close.
It was. We were some of the last people to get to talk to him and interview him, and wow, what a life story! Most intense interview we have ever done.
Can I do my Uncle Bud impersonation now?
You sure can.
Okay. So he was talking about, what were we talking? We were talking about
The lumber industry.
the lumber industry.
Yeah, he was a lumberman all his life.
And he leans into the camera. He actually, because I'm asking the questions, he actually leans in and looks at the camera and says, I've seen 5 men die. One of them, my brother. And I tell you, when I teach these classes about lumber safety, I say, stay sober for damn sure and keep your distance.
You just gave I just going back to that moment. It was. I mean,
was so
I think
intense.
all 3 of us were stunned.
I did a poor job there. The intensity was off the charts when he said that.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about a sibling, you had a brother die.
Yeah.
And in seeing men who've been killed by trees.
Yeah, and he talked about the time he got busted up and ribs broken and everything
Shoulder
else.
blade
and then,
was down this
yeah,
way.
went to the hospital. And next day he was back on the job. I mean,
Nobody tougher.
nobody tougher. We've never met anybody tough as Uncle Bud. God rest his soul.
I don't want to stop talking about Uncle Bud, but truly an amazing interview. Also an interview that I walked out of thinking, I'm not sure we can use any of that.
But we have.
we need the director's cut of that interview. I'm telling you, one of these days we need the director's cut because people will be amazed at that one.
Yes.
So, wrapping things up, thank you so much for joining us for another video podcast, Anything Appalachia from Germain Media. And please follow us on Facebook. Share this with your friends and family. And follow us on all of the social media channels. That includes Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, YouTube, and Vimeo.
He got them all this time.
And or follow us down the street. It's all good. So in the words of our friend Mickey Pruitt, y'all have a good one and holler if you need us.
That brings to a close another edition of the Anything Appalachia podcast, produced by Germain Media. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and will tune in next time. Until then, here's hoping that you and yours are fine and dandy.